Hi there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent Training. Welcome to our Word of the Day series, where we look at a new word each day, help you with accent error patterns you might have on this word, and help you get ways to practice to say this word fluently and easily with correct pronunciation in American English. Today's word was a request, and it's actually two words. And the request was for the words borrow and borrower. That's a challenging word even for me as a native speaker to say. So we'll look at breaking it down, making it easier for you to pronounce correctly. And you'll see right off the bat that there are differences of opinion and or multiple correct pronunciations of this word. So when I say this word, I use the ah vowel. I say borrow. But in various dictionaries that I consulted and for various different regions of the US and different personal choices, there's also some options for borrow and borrow. So we'll look at what is the difference between these and what to say to comfortably be able to pronounce it correctly and sound American. So you have a little bit of wiggle room here, a little bit of variability. First, let's take a look at how we stress the syllables in this word. So you can see in all the variations, we have first syllable stress, which means that the ba syllable or bo or ba, depending on which pronunciation you use, is long, and the ro syllable is short and reduced. So we're going to be having a long, short, ba-ro pattern. Then I would say probably the trickiest thing is the vowel together with the medial R sound, the R in the middle. And fortunately, there's just one R, and we basically, if we can say row, we can say borrow. So we think about that row as an initial R. If you have trouble with the R sound, use my American R playlist to help you. And in this word, I find it very helpful to just practice starting with that R sound. So making sure I have a tight back R, tongue braced against the insides of upper teeth and tense tongue. Row, row. You might find it easier to say grow with a g sound before your R because it might help you pull your tongue back for that American R. So I can try grow, row, and just make sure that I feel my tongue starting in that back position it had for the G. We have an O vowel, even though it's spelled O-W. It's just one vowel sound. But in English, the O is a diphthong, means it's actually gliding between two vowels quickly. And if you just hold the O longer, you'll have the American sound. You basically relax your lips and jaw. O from a slightly more open to a slightly more closed and lax vowel, O. So on to the challenging part, which is this first O. How do we pronounce it? So many letter O's in English are pronounced with vowel ah, looks like that, and sounds like the same ah as in father and pasta. I think that helps people sometimes think about it if they write it as an A or an AH. So when I typically say this word, I say borrow, borrow. I use an open, relaxed ah. My tongue is flat on the bottom of my mouth, and I don't have any lip rounding, borrow. However, you may find that it's easier for you to do a little bit of lip rounding in this word, and you might say it more like a caught law vowel. That's this one. Ba, borrow, borrow. Again, I would just think about law, ba, borrow. Or this one I think I don't hear as much, the O as O, borrow. When I looked in one of my dictionaries, it did have it marked as borrow. And again, that may be an East Coast variation. It may be dependent on where you're from. The way I speak is a mix of Midwestern and West Coast American English, and it's pretty similar to what you'll see in most media, news, movies, American TV. And so if you're going to go for that kind of sound, you want this one, borrow, or this one, borrow. This this borrow, I would say sounds a lot more British and a little bit odd to my ear, so I wouldn't go for that one. I just wanted to show you because it is an option. Okay, so borrow, somewhere in between, it's okay. These two vowels, the ah and the ah, in some areas of the US, those two have merged, and there's kind of an in-between vowel. People don't really make a strong distinction between them. So either one of those options will be good for this word. Then when I add borrower, I find, for me, pronouncing that, still first syllable stress, borrower. I have to slow down in order to be able to make the rower, because I'm starting from the R, going through the O to the W and back into the R in the And so that transition is a little bit challenging because the W to R transition. And so I find that that is probably easier to say row, rower, borrower. So I might have to really slow down to sequence them. Or if I find the to be most challenging, I could start there. Rower, borrower. Again, I have long, short, short. I can also really practice these short, reduced syllables, rower, trying to get those more quick and light so that I can have the correct syllable stress. Rower, borrower. While we're talking about borrowers, when I start it from the beginning, it's harder for me as well. We can also talk about lenders. If you're talking about borrowers, you probably also have to say the word lender. So I'll just briefly say that lender also has first syllable stress, long, short, and it has vowel lender. And we're just going to watch out to not to say lenda. When I have an at the end of a word, I want to make sure that in American English, I always have and not the sound. British would be borrower or lenda, potentially. They do a different R sound in the middle and ends of words. We do the R in any place in the word, lender. Okay, so that was a challenging one. I had to correct myself a few times. You probably heard me not always saying that word correctly. So in order to begin to be able to say it more easily and correctly when you're talking, you want to try to use this word in some simple phrases. So there's an expression in English that is neither a borrower or a lender be. We could also say there are many borrowers right now in the mortgage industry. Or for borrow, can I please borrow that? I need to borrow a cup of flour. I have borrowed my library books, and I don't know when I'm going to be able to return them because the library is closed. Okay, thank you for the suggestion for borrow and borrower. If you have a suggestion for word of the day, please feel free to leave that on this video or any of my videos. You can also leave comments on the Facebook videos, and I have a long list now of many excellent suggestions from you. I'll try to let you know when your word of the day comes up, but check back on the Facebook page and on the channel page on our word of the day playlist, and you can do a search and find when I've said your word. I do also include some of the words of the day in our Friday free classes when we have breaks between questions there. So on Fridays, we have live question and answer classes, and people attend and ask me about words, pronunciation, patterns, everything that they would like to help improve their American English. I also will, in those classes, share resources from the website, speechmodification.com. And if you have a question that's not about a particular word or just anything related to American accent training and pronunciation, feel free to leave those questions, again, also anywhere in my website, Facebook, or YouTube. I do follow up on all of the comments and send you resources with a link for a video I have, a lesson I have for your question. And if I don't have a video or lesson, I might make one because your questions really help other people as well as you. Many people have similar questions when they're working on their English. Thanks so much for being part of the Word of the Day. We'll be back again tomorrow with a new word. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound American, you can do it. speechmodification.com.